Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com. Today we're taking a closer look at and installing the MP Concepts smoked LED reverse light available for the 2018 and newer Mustang. You should be checking this out if you're looking to switch up your factory reverse light to modernize your rear end, to blend in a lot more with the rest of the rear end and the rest of the technology in the vehicle, while also getting a couple of new functionalities. Now previously, your factory 2018 GT has, of course, 1/3 brake light up at the top of the windshield, and it has one reverse light down at the bottom. Your taillights act as running lights as well when your lights are on. Everybody knows that, but this is gonna change a couple of those things up. Now, first and foremost, it is a reverse light, so let's focus on that. The reverse light isn't currently on at the moment, but when it is on, it's a very bright white LED combo. There's a couple of LEDs at the bottom and a couple at the top in between the design you see there on the brake light. Now that LED is a lot brighter and a lot whiter than your factory incandescent bulb, making it a lot more attractive at the rear end. Now, in addition to the reverse light, I know that's the big ticket item here, but in addition to that, you're also getting a fourth brake light. So you have your third brake light up there, but now when you hit your brakes, this one's gonna come on just like you see here in a bright red to match your taillights. It's the same red as the taillights, the same red as the third brake light, so it blends in really, really well. Additionally, you're getting the running light. As you see here, we have the lights on with the car off, so you can see that running light in action. That shape there, very unique to the MP Concepts option. And look, in my personal opinion, the S550, especially the 2018 and newer option, has some incredible modern technology, some really futuristic stuff that I really enjoy, and I think the factory reverse light is very outdated. I think it's a very traditional option. It's got the chrome housing, incandescent bulb. This here is just gonna match the rest of the modernization of your vehicle. So big upgrade here for reverse light, guys. Some of you may not be a fan of the design of this reverse light, but for the guys looking to really switch things up, I think it's a good modern option. Comes in right around 80 bucks, making it an extremely affordable rear end mod, and the installation isn't too bad, but it does require some splicing. I'm gonna take you guys through every single step of the process. Know that I'm giving it 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, and I think you can get it done in about 2 hours from start to finish. Bolting it up is just 4 screws, super simple, but you wanna have some wire cutters and wire strippers on deck. I recommend having some zip ties, electrical tape, and quick splice connectors. I'm using male and female spade connectors for the reverse light, and then we're gonna have to splice in to our taillight harness here on the driver's side inside of our trunk using some quick splice connectors. Now, none of that's included in the kit, but I do wanna let you know that they're very easily picked up at your local auto parts store or local hardware store for a very, very cheap price. I would recommend picking up a couple in case you screw a couple of them up. It may be a trial and error process. It's not that hard to tackle, and I will let you know if you mess it up once, you do have some redemption. Now, I'm gonna take you guys through every step. Let's get to it. Tools recommended for this install include an impact gun, a variety of extensions, 7 and 10 millimeter deep sockets, universal swivel joint, electrical tape, flathead screwdriver, a drill bit of any size, wire cutters, quick splice connectors, male and female spade connectors, wire strippers, needle nose pliers, and a heat gun. All right, so we have our 2018 Mustang GT here with our factory reverse light. Now the first step is gonna be to get that factory reverse light out of place. Because I have a lift, I'm gonna utilize that. Now guys, if you're working in the driveway at home, you can of course just crawl right underneath, but in the interest of saving my back, and because we have this lift here accessible to us, I'm gonna throw it up in the air, so let's do that. Now with the car up in the air, or if you're working on the ground, grab a 7 millimeter socket, and we're gonna remove the 4 bolts holding the bottom of our rear valance in place. Now we're not gonna have to remove the entire rear valance. Just removing these bolts will allow us to pry down on it to give us a little bit better access. So grab a 7 socket, we're gonna remove all 4 of these. You wanna make sure you're setting them aside to be reinstalled later too. Now the next step here is going to be to pry down on this just a little bit, and we're gonna disconnect the connector on the back end of our factory reverse light. So just pinch at the top and pull straight back. Now to access the 4 bolts holding on our reverse light, we're gonna pull straight down on this valance, and you see it gains access to these 2 at the bottom. Grab an extension and a 7 millimeter socket and remove those 2. It's all right if they fall out. All right, now there's 2 at the top. If you pull straight down, it's a very weird angle to be at, so you may need a swivel socket. If not, it might be a little bit of a struggle to get your impact gun in. Maybe an extension and a ratchet would do the trick. I have a swivel socket, so we'll be using that to get the top 2. Now what I'm gonna do is use my extension and 7 socket. I'm gonna put it into place with our swivel. I'm gonna pry down here and back off that bolt. Do the same thing for the other top one. All right, at this point you can just pull it out of place. So we're gonna pull down on the valance, get that out. There might be some rocks under there, just be careful. You can just feed this out however you see fit. Now you'll see that the harness is attached to it on a plastic clip. You can just pry that off. First, we're gonna try to get this out of place. All right, now we can set this aside. All right, so the next step here is the fun part, right? We're gonna start getting into some of the splicing. Now, to prep for our splicing, we're gonna have to cut off this connector. The reason we're doing that is the loose wiring on the back of our new MP Concepts reverse light is gonna splice directly into this wiring, but there's nowhere for this connector to go, so we gotta get rid of it. In order to do that, I'm gonna peel back on the wiring, grab some snips, and just cut it straight off. Now, we don't wanna cut it too close to the connector. If you ever wanted to return it to stock, maybe you wanna hold on to it, personal preference. I like to pull this tape back and cut maybe like an inch, inch and a half up from the connector itself. Grab some wire cutters and just cut them both out. You can set this aside. Now we finally got our factory reverse light off of our 18 GT, and on the table here next to our MP Concepts option, I just wanted to give you guys a quick side-by-side comparison between the two here because they are just a complete night and day difference. There's absolutely nothing the same about these two except for the locations of the stock bolts. These, I will acknowledge, are upside down on the table, otherwise they just sit right on their faces. So just in the interest of getting you guys to see them, that's how they sit. So on the car, you'll see it like this. Now, as you can see, very, very different design. Our factory option has a chrome interior housing, very, very traditional looking. It looks reflective, it looks very flashy in your face. It's really not subtle at all, and it could be updated pretty well to make it a little bit more attractive. The bulb itself is a factory incandescent bulb, which can get pretty dull over time. It maybe has a yellowish hue to it. It's not the brightest white or brightest attractive bulb in the world. So upgrading to the LEDs is something a lot of guys are doing nowadays. It's a very modern upgrade. The lighting is a lot brighter, it's a lot more attractive. In this case, it'll be a lot whiter, but it also has that caveat of having the 4th brake light attachment in here. We're gonna splice that into our brake lights a little bit later on, which means you're also getting a very bright red light when you hit your brakes. So if you have LED brake lights, this will match very nicely. Now, one thing that I like about this is that it does have that smoked polycarbonate lens. What that basically means is your lens is darkened, as you can see. Comparing that to the factory option, huge difference in the lens. Now that's gonna give you a nice stealthy appearance at the rear end, and as you can see on our customer's 18 GT here, he's got smoked rear lights as well. His tail lights have the smoke tint on it, so this is gonna blend in nicely with that. Now the actual LED design in here to me looks somewhat like a superhero logo. It's some variation of that at least, but it looks very aggressive and it's very unique, very modernized. On the back side, I will spin these two around. It is very, very different. The LEDs don't have a bulb like this does. The factory one twists and comes right out. So that's your factory bulb. Can't do that here. All the LEDs are built into the housing there. They are rated to last the lifetime of your vehicle. You don't have to replace these at any point. There's no worry in the world about it. LEDs are just known to last a great deal longer than any kind of incandescent like this. Grab your MP Concepts reverse light and just feed it into place through this open gap. All right, get it lined up where you want it to be, and we're gonna start by bolting it down to the 2 bottom holes. All right, so once you have it in place, we're gonna start at the bottom right, pry down on the rear valance. All right, so I'm gonna start with my hand. Now I know it might be tough to see, but you're gonna thread the bottom bolt in just by hand on both sides. All right, once you just get it started, do the same thing for the top ones. All right, so what we're gonna do is line up these bottom ones, take your 7 socket and tighten them down. All right, now the next step is gonna be very tricky to see and pretty tricky to do. Now the reason it's tricky is because when you pry down, the top holes don't wanna line up. So you're really gonna need to keep it as far up into place as you can while trying to feed the very tiny 7mm screw into place. Now, putting it on your socket, it's probably gonna wanna fall out, so you'll need 2 hands to guide it in there. If you have a magnetized socket, it's even better, but now it might seem like a silly solution, but it is difficult to keep the screw on your socket while you're at such a weird angle, so I got some painter's tape. Painter's tape around the socket and around the top of the screw or the bolt head is gonna keep that on the socket while you tighten it down just enough to get your impact gun in. Once you have it tightened enough, we can pull it off, get the tape out of the way, and then take it from there. Now we can do the one at the top right. Now you can grab your ratchet or your impact gun, and if you're using a swivel to get this done, tighten them down. So we've got our 7, our extension, and my swivel here to make life a little easier. We're gonna tighten these down. All right, now we have to bolt up our rear valance again. So make sure you're attaching this bracket here. There are little clips that just snap right into place. That's pretty simple. Grab your 7mm screw or bolt and tighten it back down. Do that for all 4. All right, so the next step is gonna go right into our splicing. The black wire is going to our black wire, the white wire is going to our green wire. Now what we're gonna do is peel back some of this tape here. I'm gonna strip some of the covering on the wires loose to expose the copper wire. We're gonna do the same thing on these. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna splice spade connectors to each side. I'll put males on this side and females on this side. And then we'll be able to use heat shrink sleeves to make them an absolute weatherproof seal. Now the reason we want to do that is simply because this part of the vehicle is extremely exposed to the outside weather elements. So when it's raining outside or snowing, all of that moisture and water is going to get kicked up here. And if it was to touch any of the loose wires or the exposed wires, it would short out, obviously not be good and needing a replacement. That's a whole mess of a job we want to avoid. So heat shrink when you can and where you can. Make sure you're splicing together tightly to have a secure connection, and I'm going to walk you through every step. Now guys, before you get started, here is a quick disclaimer and a quick note here. Before you start working on live wires, disconnect the negative cable on your battery. You want to do that before you get started. It's better to be safe than sorry. All right, so the first step here is to grab our factory harness that we've already cut the connector off of and remove some of this retainer tape. Now that tape is a protective layer over the copper wire. So what we're going to do is basically just rip some of that off and peel it back to expose a little bit more of those wires. From there, we can separate the black and the green. Now we have a little bit of threading there because it is like a fabric tape, weatherproof seal. So once you have that separated, grab your black wire and your green wire. What we're gonna do is take our wire strippers and strip some of that back. Now this is the tool I'm using. If you have a different set of wire strippers, that's fine. Whatever you need to do to get some of that wire exposed. Once that's separated, really just pull that off and it exposes that wire. Do the same thing for the black one. Now what we're gonna do is grab the harness wire from our MP Concepts light, take the rubber band off of it, and just separate the white and black wire from the blue and red. We don't need the blue and red just yet. We've got our black wire here. I'm gonna tuck the blue and red up there. You wanna make sure you've got both set of wires together. You don't want one on one side of this bracket, one on the other, and then everything's underneath the car. You wanna make sure you're able to tuck all of that back underneath. I'm gonna strip some of this wire back on our MP Concepts as well. Now the way we're gonna splice these together, again, black to black, white to white, is we're gonna use male and female spade connectors. Now the way it works is they're different on the inside, and male to female, they join together like this. Now the thing that doesn't exist with these, at least in the ones that we have, these aren't heat shrink. So what that means is I can't apply heat and get them to wrap around and shrink together to have an airtight, leak-free, waterproof seal. To get around that, we have a weatherproof or weather stripping that we're gonna heat shrink to it. So I'm actually gonna insert this over the wiring, and that's gonna sit on the back end, and we'll heat shrink it to the back. So it's gonna wrap around the wire on this side and the spade connector on this side, and when I apply heat from our heat gun, it shrinks and has a waterproof seal. That's crucial to this process, guys. You don't have to use spade connectors. You can just use quick splice connectors that are heat shrink, the butt connectors. Those work as well. I like these because they can disconnect if you ever need them to. So we're gonna add this sleeve to make sure it's weatherproof. So step number one, you wanna grab the wire and twist the copper so it's in a nice little bunch. So what I'm gonna do is take our black wire from our factory harness, slide the heat shrink connector over the inside. We're gonna leave that in the middle there. We're gonna grab our female connector and insert that over the copper wire. Get that all the way through. Now we can crimp that down. And when you do that, you wanna give it a tug and make sure the wire does not come out. Take this sleeve that's on our wire, slide that to the back end. Do the same thing for the green wire. What you want to do is make sure that on our factory harness, you're using the same kind of connector. I started with a female, so on the factory harness, use 2 females. You don't want to do male and female. Do them both the same. On our MP Concepts wire, will be both of the opposite. So if you do female here, you do male here. Slide the heat shrink through. Get your connector, slide that into place. Now if you need to, if you have too much wire, you can always cut some of that off. You don't want any more exposed than you need to. Crimp it, give it a tug, make sure it doesn't come off. Slide your sleeve down. All right, now we can do the same thing to our black and white wire from our MP Concepts, making sure we're using the opposite connector. So I have females here, males here. All right, at this point, we're gonna grab our heat gun and shrink those connectors to get that weatherproof seal. All right, so the next part, I got my heat gun here. Whatever you're using to apply this heat, it could be a hair dryer, it might just take a little bit longer. We have a heat gun. I'm gonna put that on full blast, and we're just gonna shrink this stuff up. Now, if you watch closely, you'll actually see these pieces of rubber, shrink up at both ends. As you apply that heat, you see it really shrink up and begin to take shape with the wire and the spade connector. All right, once you have those shrunk and they're good and ready, just give them a little bit to cool down because they will get really hot, and then we'll move on. All right, so we got our spade connectors on, male on our MP Concepts, female on our factory harness. We have them heat shrunk. So once that's all taken care of, we just connect them. Grab your black wire and your black wire, put those together. Now connect them as tightly as you can by hand and use the white to the green. Once you have them as tight as you can by hand, you can grab needle nose pliers and just go corner to corner and just pinch them together. I like to do that just to make sure they're super tight. And that goes all the way down. Same thing here. Now at this point, you can use electrical tape to go around them. We will probably do that toward the end, but for now, we're gonna leave it just like this. The next step is to bring down the colored wires. These have to go up into the trunk, because that's where we're gonna splice into our brake lights. Now in order to get them from here to the trunk, this electrical box here has wiring that goes up through a rubber grommet in the bottom of our spare tire well. We're gonna poke a hole in that grommet and feed these wires through the grommet and receive them in the trunk. All right, so here's our grommet going into our trunk. It's on the driver's side of this electrical panel underneath our spare tire well. So what I'm gonna do to poke this hole is use a really small drill bit. I'm not actually gonna drill in, I'm just gonna use the bit itself by hand to poke a hole through. You wanna make sure you're feeling by hand because this is wiring. You don't wanna pierce the wiring at all. You don't wanna cut that. That'll cause electrical issues for a lot of things. So what we're gonna do is just be careful to do this off to the side and go straight up through. Now we can feed our wiring through this hole into our trunk. All right, so now we got the car down on the ground. We're in the trunk. We've got our wiring underneath, so we're gonna lift up on this carpet and just, set it aside. We don't need to hold it up the whole time. Once you have that set aside, you can see where the wiring's coming through. This is our grommet on our driver's side. Take the wiring and pull it all the way through gently until you're all out of wire. Once that's through, we're gonna leave this right in the trunk for a moment. Now we're gonna splice that into our driver's side brake light. Now in order to do that and not make it ugly in the trunk, we're gonna line this wire underneath of our panel and underneath of the side carpeting. Now in order to do that, we gotta pop this off. Those are just twist knobs in each of the 4 corners. We're gonna untwist them and pop this panel off completely, starting here on our driver's side. Now the way this works, just untwist by hand, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we're just gonna back this all the way out. It's basically a plastic retainer knob over top of a stud, a threaded stud. So once you get it off, you'll see that. It's all right if it falls down. We're gonna reinstall them later. Let's get all of these out and keep them in that spare tire well. Now this whole panel might give you a little bit of a pain, but pull straight back, get them off of the studs. All right, and just get it out of your trunk and set it aside. Now on our driver's side here, we're gonna have to remove this carpeting. We don't have to fully take it out, just get it out of the way to access the back of our driver's side taillight. Now as you can see, there's one black retainer pin here. It's that Christmas tree clip holding it to the body. All you have to do is take a piece of that carpet and just gently pull straight back. That'll disconnect. Set this aside to be reinstalled later. From here, take your carpeting and just slide it all the way back toward your rear seats. It'll keep itself there. You're gaining access to this wiring right here. Now this is your factory taillight harness. Now this, we can disconnect by pinching and pulling out. Here's where we're doing some splicing. Now you have a bunch of wires connected to this connector here. There's one wire that is green with a purple stripe and one wire that is yellow with a red stripe. These are the 2 that we need. So the harness from our MP Concepts is gonna get spliced into those for our brake light. Now, the way we're gonna get all of this excess wiring out of the way is we're basically gonna run it and line it with this harness here. The harness that runs right up against the back of your trunk. That'll tuck behind the carpeting and that black panel that we removed. We'll tackle that once the splicing is done. We'll be able to zip tie it back essentially to run along this wire. For now, let's focus on the splicing. Now before we get to any splicing, we have a lot of wire here. So what we're actually gonna do is run these 2 wires, the red and the blue one, along this harness at the back of the trunk and work our way over to this connector. Once we get there, we may have a little bit of excess we can trim off, but what you wanna do first is run the wire along this harness. Now I'm gonna use a couple of zip ties and some electrical tape to keep it in place. You can use whatever you see fit. I think these 2 work the easiest and the best. So what we're gonna do is first off, take a little bit of electrical tape and tape it down at the bottom by our grommet just to connect it to the harness. So I'm gonna put that, I'm just gonna wrap it around the inside just to give it a starting point. From here you can run it up. I'm actually gonna tuck this underneath and zip tie it here at this crossbar. So now we'll start going this way, but first I'm gonna zip tie that. All right, now at about here, I'm going to put some electrical tape. All right, so now this is gonna splice into this. So as you can see, we have a ton of extra wiring. Now we want it to reach over here. So what I'm gonna do is cut off some of this excess. Cut it right about here. Next step is to actually start doing some splicing. Now these quick splice connectors are gonna be in the kit, whether they're red or they're blue, something like this you're gonna have in your kit. Basically the way you're gonna use this is there's a top open slot and then one open slot on the side. The one open slot on the side is going to be for our red or our blue wire. That's going to go in just like this, all the way to the end. There is no hole on the other side, so it's not going to come out. You're going to insert the appropriate color wire from this harness in the top, and you're going to clamp them together using this tab. That way they get a good connection, we don't have to cut anything, none of that nonsense like we did underneath the car. Now, I am going to use my wire strippers to strip these wires to expose some of that copper. At this point, I'm going to take this connector, we're going to find the wire in here that's green with a purple stripe. That's this one. Separate that, but don't disconnect it. The green and purple one that we just separated right here is going to connect to our red wire. So we're going to take this quick splice connector and insert this through the top hole. Take your red wire and insert it through the side, all the way in. You can see it through that slot come all the way through. Once you have them in, take this tab at the top. Now if you need to, you can pinch them together and grab a pair of needle nose pliers and just really crimp down. That'll give us a real solid connection. You shouldn't be able to pull that wire out. They should be crimped together. So give it a little tug, just make sure. Now we're going to do the same thing with the blue wire. That is going to crimp to the one with the yellow and red stripe on our connector. Basically do the same thing with the yellow one. Insert that in here. Take your blue wire. Once you have those taken care of, you can grab your connector and plug it right back in. Now before you plug this back in, what you're going to do is just snap the cover shut. You'll hear it snap once, and you'll snap it twice, and they actually shut just like this. And you can plug your connector right back in. Guys, at this point, 2 quick notes here. I went ahead and electrical taped all of the excess wiring back here that we ran with our harness. I didn't want to bore you guys with that long process. It's just wrapping electrical tape around here. That's optional. I just think it looks a little bit cleaner. It blends in nicely, and it just gives it that extra layer of protection for the wiring. At this point, you want to make sure you're testing your reverse light and your brake light. If everything is great, everything works properly, all you have to do now is put everything back together. So we're going to take this carpeting, I'm going to pop it back in place, take that Christmas tree clip that we removed earlier, put that back in, make sure everything fits. Now if you put those retainer knobs in the liner here, just make sure you're pulling them out. Grab your plastic panel, feed that back into the trunk, and back into its factory position. Screw these back on. Finally, put the spare tire cover back on, the carpeting. Now the last thing we need to do is head underneath the car. There is one more Christmas tree clip that we didn't connect. Reason being, I wanted to make sure we tested our lights and got everything finished before reconnecting it. It's just that plastic clip that attaches to the side bracket on our new light. So I'm gonna put the car back in the air, just reconnect that, and we're good to go. All right, so we're under the car again next to our original splice job by our reverse light here. Now this white Christmas tree clip on the side of the factory harness is just gonna get retained to this plastic clip here. Now again, I just waited to the end to do this simply because I wanted to make sure everything worked properly and I wouldn't have to undo it. Now with this excess wiring, grab a zip tie and you can zip tie it all back. You can use electrical tape, you can pick up a conduit to cover it up. Just whatever you need to do to cover up some of that wire, you can do so now and then you're good to go. You're just gonna push that plastic white clip back into place. Well guys, that's gonna wrap up my review and install for the MP Concepts smoked LED reverse light available for the 2018 and newer Mustang. You can get this option right here for your S550 at AmericanMuscle.com.